So I'm all packing up here for a big bike packing trip, 8 or 9 days, depending on how things go. So I thought I'd just tell you a little bit about what I'm packing. Now, I wanted to start by saying, um, I really started with what was lying around the house. I have built up the collection a little bit now, but just want to say that you can really start bike packing pretty simply. Sleeping bag, tent. I just use my regular commuter bike, so no fancy gravel bikes or anything like that. Just anything that I can hang my panniers on. So, first off is the bags. So, two panniers for the front wheel, two panniers for the back wheel. Those are my heavy lifters for tents and sleeping bags and that kind of stuff. Over top of the back panniers, I put this back bag. I've got a frame bag in there. That's where I tend to leave things like food, phone, things that I want to reach while I'm riding along, maybe water refill jug. Uh, Little top bar bag. I don't know if I'll use that. I haven't used that before with this setup, so I'm gonna have to see if that fits. But if it does, then that's a place for phone, ID, keys, that kind of stuff. And then a bag for in front of the handlebars. Again, this will be my first time using that particular setup, but I think that one will fit no problem. Then there's, of course, your basic camping stuff. So I've got a little tent. I do have a fairly big sleeping roll. So again, in terms of what I use, it's not all the best stuff. So you can get a tent that packs down into a bag half that size. You can get sleeping rolls that pack down to like a third of that size. But these are what I could get for cheap and easy or had lying around already. So tent, sleeping bag, pillow, sleeping roll. Good sleep is really important. So I know this is going to stick way out of my panniers. It's going to be the most annoying thing on my trip, but definitely worth it to have a good sleep, especially if you're doing like a week or more. And then this is also new for me this year. So this is a little fold out chair. So I found, I'm usually pulling into where I want to stop for the night around dinner time and have, good 4 hours of sunlight left in the day. Sitting on the ground or standing around is no good. So this is just a little chair, fold up chair. In terms of clothes and kit, so I do have three kits. I know 3 kits for 9 days. You are going to be re-wearing kit. That's the way it is. You just can't fit enough. But I do a pair of socks for each day. So I've got 9 pairs of cycling socks. And then I have an off the bike outfit that includes a light pair of long pants, a light long sleeve, and then t-shirt and um, sandals. And so that's because you do, after you get in, I do find I really want to take off my cycling kit, even if I'm literally just hanging out in a forest for the night. Just get out of the kit, throw it over a branch, let it air out overnight is pretty helpful. Also because the sleeping bag is a very light sleeping bag, having some extra clothes that I can use as layers can be very helpful. Of course, water. This is going to be my biggest challenge for this trip because with the pandemic, there's a lot of my regular water stops are harder to access. Which reminds me, I do need to pack my mask so I can go in places. So I've got 3 bottles. That's obviously I'm going to be riding about 100 kilometers a day. Um, I will need to fill those usually once a day. So I will be looking for stops along the way. I'm not out in the wilderness. I'm just in southwestern Ontario. Towel, and I've got some body wash in there. That's for the jump in the lake wash. I do have some water on my trip. There is limited shower options, and so again, it's the way it is, and so you make do with what you have. Bike repair things, so tubes, levers, hand pump. I don't do CO2 just because it's a one-time use thing, whereas the hand pump you can adjust also your pressure because you find with all the weight on the bike, it's a lot different than you're used to. And so you may want to change your tire pressures. Of course, a big long book for those 4 hours a night that you're off the bike. A couple of locks. Ideally, I can find a tree that a lock will reach around. If not, what having the two, which are fairly light, they're just cable locks, allows me to at least lock both wheels to the frame, which is going to make it really hard for someone to steal the bike while I'm asleep in my tent. Headlamp, just because of some of those sleepless nights where you need to read a book after it's dark in order to fall asleep. That will help you do that. Charger, cables to charge the phone. I do rely on my Google Maps, so I don't use a hard map. A lot of people use the hard maps, but I need the charger because I need my Google Maps. So for toiletries, of course, chamois cream and sunscreen and bug spray. So can't forget the sunscreen and the bug spray. Those are like so important for your comfort. Again, you're going to be stuck outside. And if you're bandit camping like I am, you're going to be in bush a lot at night where there's a lot of mosquitoes. So then, of course, toothbrush. I still got to grab my toothpaste. The Benadryl for me is an emergency sleep aid. And so if I'm really not sleeping, then that's kind of my final fallback. Of course, debit card, driver's license, in case you get hit by a bus and people need to find out who you are. And gloves, and this is a rain cover for my helmet. I do, because I have all day to ride every day, I do try to be choosy and avoid the storm cells. That's another reason for the phone and the charger, is to avoid the rain. But if absolutely necessary and you get a cold snap, keeping as much of the water off the top of your head as possible is ideal. So a couple things I have left to pack in the morning. I'll pack earplugs and a mask as well to help with the sleep. Obviously fill the water bottles, get all this stuff on the bike and tune the bike up. Oh, I'll also be throwing some chain lube into my repair kit because there's nothing like a squeaky chain for 9 days to drive you bonkers. So that's my cycling setup. Again, just kind of added some pieces over time, but really, if you're trimmed down a bit of the camping things, you could do this with a pretty standard commuter bike with a couple panniers on the back and then a few extra bags for your toiletries and food. So that's my setup. What am I missing? And what top tips do you have for bike camping?